What do you got, Coach? 3 things that all coaches need.
Who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of coaches?
New York or the Aces? Definitely going with the Aces.
All right, 4th down. Who has the tougher job, coaches or officials? If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
But Texas is different.
Good morning. We're here early on a Saturday morning. We survived the first round of storms coming through the H-Town area this morning. This is the Coaches Co-op. This is a masterclass in athletic leadership where coaches connect, grow, and share the grind. If you are tuning in today, you're definitely going to get connected. You're definitely going to grow because we got some coaches here to share. This is a profession of sharing. All right. Each week, I get to team up with some of the best from around the country to break down the wins, the lessons, and everything in between. This week, I have the great opportunity of teaming up with the Chip Baker. Come on, you already know who it is. Armando Jacinto, one of the people who has poured into me. I'm so happy to have him here. Then we're also going to be joined by Jaye, Floyd, and Kevin Demers. They are here to talk about Book 2 in the Path for Coaches. They're here to talk about emotional intelligence. So let me bring them all to the stage. So with your real hands or with your virtual hands, I need you to welcome Chip Baker, Armando Jacinto, Jaye Floyd, and Kevin Demers to the co-op. Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to have you here with us in the co-op today. How y'all doing?
Good morning.
Doing great.
I'm blessed.
Good. All right. So here's what we're going to do. All right. This is Book 2 in the Path for Coaches, spearheaded by Chip Baker and Armando Jacinto. So we're going to start off with Chip. Chip, this is what I want you to do for us this morning. I want you to just kind of lay out the background for the book. What was the thought process and why this book is necessary for our audience?
So good. Well, first, I would just want to say thanks so much, Coach, for having us on your platform. We consider it an honor and a privilege. Just truly grateful to be connected to some amazing people. And I'm going to give you this quote that I heard from one of my former pastors. Life moves at the speed of our relationships. And this whole experience is the evidence and the research of that. So grateful to be in coaching for a long time. I got connected with this amazing athletic director, Coach Jacinto, who's on with us this morning, and while he was at Spring, through other relationships, and we hit it off. And we always just talked about the needs of coaches, striving to meet the needs of what coaches need. He would bring me in to speak to his coaches, and we just did some amazing work together. Amazing guy. I think a lot of him. Truly grateful that the big man has allowed us to connect. And so, once he retired, we continue to have conversations about, what can we do to pour into coaches, to pour into the profession. And so we decided to do the book series, The Path for Coaches. And the first one we did was mentoring. And then the second one that we're about to release is emotional intelligence. And so we just feel that, this will be a great opportunity to, like I said, pour into coaches and to help the profession be better.
I probably should unmute myself before I start talking. All right. So, Coach Jacinto, I'm going to come to you next. So, emotional intelligence. I know that you have recommended books to me in the past, but as we roll into Book 2, why emotional intelligence? But before you tell us the why, tell us the what. What is emotional intelligence and why emotional intelligence for Book 2? We can't hear you, Coach Jacinto. All right. While Coach Jacinto is working through some of his technical difficulties, we're going to come back to you, Chip. So, Chip, I'm going to give you the same question, right?
Yep.
So, book one, mentoring. Book two, emotional intelligence. So, one, tell us, what is emotional intelligence and why that topic for book two?
I believe that emotional intelligence is the skills that we need to allow us to operate effectively on a day-to-day basis. It allows us to build stronger relationships with the people that we're around. It helps us make informed decisions. I think a cool thing that we have to make sure we do is in coaching, because we wear lots of hats and lots going on. It helps us manage stress and conflict more effectively. And then it helps us foster a productive environment. And I think that when we can do those things, it gives us a balance in our life and allows us to just achieve more and be efficient and effective while we are achieving more.
That's good stuff right there. That's good stuff. Years ago, so I have a buddy who works in corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
And about 4 or 5 years ago, so I like to call him at least once a year and then just workshop some things with him, right? So he recommended a book on emotional intelligence, and his exact words to me were, EQ is greater than IQ.
IQ, yes, sir.
Right? So, Jaye, I see you nodding.
I found this on the web.
Oh, my watch is listening. Jaye, I saw you nodding there, right? So pick up there and talk about EQ being greater than IQ.
For me, I'm very big on my faith. I have a very strong relationship with the Lord, and you know, being a child of God, I'm always having to regulate my EQ, and our heart and our emotions sometimes overpower our logical thinking. And when your emotional intelligence can outsmart your logical intelligence, man, you're a weapon to be reckoned with. And I think for me, it's been a really cool experience writing this chapter, because I've been able to tie my faith into it and to show, here's what happens when you instill the EQ aspect, because then your IQ enhances. And so I love that you said that. I'm going to have to definitely use that with my program, because man, that's just a powerful statement within itself that really doesn't even have to be explained. When your emotions are regulated, like Chip said, you foster a much more healthier environment, not only for yourself, but for the people around you. And we're put on this earth to be servant leaders. And so we can't be a servant leader without having, a high EQ.
Okay, Jaye, I wrote down an equation here. Okay, so I want you to solve this equation for me.
Oh,
Okay?
no. I teach
All right.
English.
It's okay. It's okay. This I
Okay.
think this one will be pretty easy for you. Faith plus EQ equals what?
The first thing that came to my mind is a servant leader.
Oh, that's good stuff right there. I'm typing it up because I want to put it on the screen right there. Faith plus EQ equals servant leader. So everybody watching, listening, whenever you watch or listen to this, you need to put that in your notes. Faith plus EQ equals servant leader. Not too bad of an equation, right, Coach?
Not too bad. I can handle those equations.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Coach Jacinto, can you hear me? Try again, Coach Jacinto. All right, we're still having some technical difficulties there with Coach Jacinto. But I'm going to come back to you, Coach. I'm going to come back to you. All right, so Kevin, let me make sure I say it right. Demers.
That's right.
Demers.
There you
Demers
go.
or Demers?
Demers. I answer to anything.
But
Demers is probably the most correct. Yes.
Okay. So I think it's super important for us to get it right. So
yeah,
what I want you to do for the audience is talk about your writing experience for your chapter in this book. Ready? Go.
This has been a extremely introspective time for me. It's been really cool because what I was able to do is reach back to some former players and really because I wanted to find out how they felt about emotional intelligence and where maybe I was able to help them impart some, or maybe I was able to learn from them part of it. So it was really a great self-reflective time for me to do that. And it really kind of helped me clarify what emotional intelligence was to me.
In that clarification, what conclusion did you come to? What is emotional intelligence for you?
So to me, emotional intelligence is playing with emotion versus being emotional when playing, right? When you are playing with great emotion, you're controlling your emotions, you're harnessing them. It becomes like a superpower. But when you're playing emotional and someone's getting you out of your game and out of your head, then you become overly sensitive and it becomes almost like a kryptonite, so to speak. So there's a real fine line between the two. And players that understand that really seem to perform at a better level. That doesn't mean they play great all the time, but they're able to recognize what's going on around them and adjust, right? I mean, listen, you can't always control that you're going to play at the absolute top of your profession. It could be, you might not be feeling as strong one day. There might be something going on, but if your mind is connected with your EQ and EI, then all of a sudden it's going to help you recognize, okay, what can I do to get the job done? And maybe it helps you play through something, right? Maybe it helps you play through a mistake, or it helps you achieve what you need to at that time.
Okay. So Chip, I want to come back to you.
Yes, sir.
So how long did you coach?
Man, I coached all my life now. I coached for 20 years. I'm in my 27th year of education. And now, I tell people, I coach the coaches, right? So now it hadn't stopped. So I'll say 27 years.
Okay. So with that experience, right? 3 decades. Let's just go ahead and put a stamp on, let's say nearly 3 decades of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this? So, because I'm looking at the book description, right? So unlock the full potential of your team and achieve greater success. So for coaches, why is this important for coaches to be able to relay this to their teams?
I think just in a statement, we have to teach them to learn to control their emotions, or their emotions will control them. Right. And so when you're coaching, the best coaches are great teachers, and the best teachers are great coaches. Right. And so when you can teach people around you how to operate, how to maneuver, how to control themselves, how to use empathy, how to operate in kindness and grace, how to have self-awareness, right? How to do all of those things. I just believe that it makes the environment so much better, right? And then when we do that, it becomes infectious and contagious, and just great things just happen for us all around.
That's good stuff. Let me see if we can get Coach Jacinto in here. Coach Jacinto. We're still having those technical difficulties with Coach Jacinto. Coach, I don't know why we can't hear you. I'm going to see if I can work on it from my end and see what we got here. Let's see. What you got, Coach? Still nothing there. Oh man, I hate this. I hate this. You know what, Coach? It's okay. That means we're just gonna bring you back.
How about now?
Come on.
Oh, there we go.
Boom. There we go.
There it is. All right, Coach. Man, I want to ask you the same question that I just asked Chip, right? So Chip is 3 decades in. How many years in the game for you?
36 years when you including the coaching and the athletic administrative part. So 36 total years.
All right, so 36 years. We're gonna round up. We're gonna say just about 4 decades in the game. So I want to go back to the original question that I was asking. Why emotional intelligence? And then I'm going to ask the follow-up after that.
Okay. Just as throughout my career, and I started seeing this more when I evolved into leadership positions as first a coordinator, defense coordinator, then head coach, and then athletic administrator, is that I just saw the importance of relationships. Yes, indeed. But this part of the relationship, how different coaches and even players, their emotions, I saw as a benefit, but also as a detriment to the development of and success of themselves individually, but as well as development in the relationship between them and their coaches among coaches, and also coaches with players. And that's why I went to approach Chip about this. Is that's what I saw was lacking in a lot of our coaches. Is so what I all these things we're discussing, and all we'll be discussing different volumes, is soft skills. And this is very important because your emotions are so important to how you develop a relationship, where it can have a great relationship or it can be a negative relationship with each other, but also understanding others' emotions as well. And that's just having empathy. And that's why this is, to me, is so important, a very important soft skill for you to be successful in all your relationships, not just as a coach, but also, your personal relationships and just in everyday relationships. It's just so important to have that, to be able to understand your emotions and control them, how they affect people, but also understanding others' emotions, how they affect you as well, and be able to control them and use them in a positive manner. And that's what coaches feel they're doing, but don't understand how it's going to affect the relationship, how others are going to perceive those emotions.
Coach, that's good. So if you had to rank emotional intelligence, right? So coaches have a bag, they got a toolkit, right? So
Yes,
there are some tools that we use more than others, right? And let's say we had to rank those tools. Number 1 is the one I need to use the most. Number 2 is the second most. Where would you rank emotional intelligence amongst the tools that coaches need to use?
I would say number 2. Or a 1B or 1A, but it's going to be but I'll give it a 2 if we're going to just rank, because it's just very important for the, I just go back to when I'm a big Cowboys fan. When I was younger, I used to see Tom Landry and on the sidelines. He never showed any emotion, good or no matter what was happening on the field. He was always stoic. And I didn't understand. I said, man, why don't you get excited? Because I thought the team played the same way. But they were always very well coached and very successful. But I thought there were times, in my perspective, that I would want him to show some emotion, whether he's upset, frustrated with what's going on or how the team are playing, but also excitement when they did have success. And but then when I got into the role as a leadership role, I understood about controlling those emotions, because you want your team and your coaches to be even keel. Because if you get too high, you're going to be like a plane. Plane can't, it takes off, but it don't keep going up. It gets to that level and then it flattens out. And then and you got to be consistent, because if you're gonna be in a roller coaster and your team's going to play that way, your team's going to react that way, and then you're going to have a lot of ups and downs instead of being consistent, where can get too high, can get too low. And that's why I just see it's so important now But I still think you still need to have you can't be a robot, but that's everybody's demeanor. Everybody has their personality, and they need to fit what makes them, because then I realized that, I see that was his demeanor, but he had that fire. You knew he had the fire inside and the passion, but he just did not show it, because that's what he felt that was his personality and character.
So, Coach, that's a great picture that you painted about the plane taking off. Planes take off, but they don't keep going up. Eventually, they level off. Now, there's a question that those who may be watching or listening may be wondering. I know I'm wondering. So, if emotional intelligence is number 2 in that toolkit, what's number 1?
Self-awareness.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, listen. Go ahead, Coach. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's almost. I'm not going to expand on it. That because that'd be up on the coming volumes. One of the next volumes that we'll be bringing out.
All right. So you are in the Coaches Co-op. I'm here with Armando Jacinto, Chip Baker of the Success Chronicles, Jaye Floyd, head girls basketball coach at Brownfield High School. Happy basketball season, Coach. And Kevin Demers. We are talking emotional intelligence. All right. So before I ask you to give us a trailer, just a sneak preview of your chapters. So I follow this therapist on social media, Raquel, the capacity expert. And I actually just came across this yesterday. And I think it's perfect for today's conversation. She says, your emotions are not truth, they're data. And it's time that we stop treating them like facts. Most people think emotional intelligence means to name your feelings, to validate your feelings, and to express your feelings. But that has not created emotionally mature people. It has created emotionally entitled people. And then she gives us something to think about. Just because you feel it doesn't make it true. Just because you feel it doesn't make it wise. And just because you feel it, it definitely doesn't mean it should lead. Emotions are simply data, not directives. Anybody, give me your thoughts on that.
I would agree with this just because, I'm going to go back to my faith. I'm always having to tell myself, okay, like what I'm feeling, is that a lie or is that the truth from the Lord? And most of the time, the emotion that I feel, whether it's defeat, doubt, worry, anxiousness, any type of feelings that we have that are not positive are most of the time not valid. And so I think often, like you said, emotions are data. We're having to regulate ourselves, self-aware, self-regulation, to see like, okay, do I continue with this emotion and feel and express, or do I need to feel and then release? And so I think that's great. That's a great quote.
Yeah, she's actually awesome. So I love following her, learning a lot from her. She has a webinar coming up. She hasn't paid me to do any of this stuff, but I think she's really valuable. It's Raquel, the capacity expert. All right, so let's go to Kevin Demers. Kevin, what I want you to do here is give us just a sneak preview, just a trailer
Sure.
of what you cover in your chapter. Ready, go.
So it's really, I picked up 5 different perspectives of what emotional intelligence is. And then I kind of gave examples from my coaching career of teams and players, and they've used that. So to go on Coach Jacinto talked about self-awareness, right? And a player that used self-awareness in a game or in a situation to use his emotional intelligence to rectify that situation. So that's just a snippet of what I covered.
Okay. Coach Jacinto.
Yes, sir.
Give us just a snippet of what you cover in your chapter. Sneak preview. Make us want more. Leave us hanging.
Well, I just discussed my evolution as a person, as a coach, how I evolved and reinvented myself when I first started coaching, compared to when my latter days as a coach and as an athletic administrator, and how I handled the situations a whole lot differently, and I think it was a more successful in handling these different relationships when my emotions would get involved. And when I was younger, I had I was very just very, I mean, it's still passionate, but I was just more verbose about it. And because that's the way I was coached, not the way I was brought up, but the way I was coached by a lot of my coaches. And then I realized that I could still have the same effect. And I just thought that I always had to have those sense of urgency when needed. But then I just realized that it just shows my evolution as a coach and how I changed not my principles but my methods, and how I evolved in the methods I changed to that, and I still had the same success as I evolved as a servant leader, as Coach said, and the relationship became more impactful.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. I actually have a question that I'm going to ask the group before we get to N1. Coach Floyd, give us just a snippet. Give us the sneak preview, the trailer of what your chapter covers. Ready, go.
So my chapter talks about how your influence through your emotional intelligence in both sports and life. I explore and talk about self-regulation and emotional management and how they impact your performance, just through my view. I also emphasize spiritual discernment and how the impact of servant leadership impacts your emotional intelligence. I also give like 3 different ways to focus on your emotional intelligence with scripture. So there's also, the biblical aspect with that.
That's good. You got to make sure that your life is filled with the word, because you can't live by
Amen.
bread alone, right?
Period.
Okay. All right, brother Chip. Chip, listen, let me just go on and say this. When I grow up, ... There it is. All right, Chip, give us a sneak preview, give us a snippet, give us the movie trailer. With, plus you got that voice. You got the movie trailer voice already, right? So Chip, go ahead and give us that sneak preview of your chapter. Ready? Go.
Well, hey, let me do this too. Let me give you the book sneak preview. Last week I did some final looking through everything, piecing everything together with the editor. And man, I was really blown away with the nuggets that are in there. There's so many great tools that people can like applicable tools, not just information, right? But applicable tools. Okay, this is this, but this is how you can apply this. There's so many good nuggets in there from amazing people. But my chapter, I just talk about what emotional intelligence is. I talk about why it's important for coaches to operate with emotional intelligence. And then I also discuss the impact of having emotional intelligence and what it does on the environment and the culture.
All right. So this question popped up into my head, right? So many of us and many of the guests that I have throughout the series on the Coaches Co-op, a question I've been asking lately is there a place for the quote unquote old school coaching in today's game? Right? So I want to ask y'all that question. Of course, we're talking about emotional intelligence. Coach Jacinto, you talked about your evolution, right? And how your evolution has heightened your emotional intelligence. So we'll start with you, Coach Jacinto, and then we'll go around the room. When it comes to emotional intelligence, is there still a place for what we call quote unquote old school coaching in today's game? Go ahead, Coach Jacinto.
Yes, it is. And just can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Coach.
Okay. It is in a way. I think there's still a place in that the in the place where I feel it still fits in our society today is, and this is as a leader in the whole, it's just the standards. Your standards and your expectations still need to be high, because that's it's just back in, like you say, old school coaching. It was just expressed in a different way. But I think in that manner and form, you still can have the same expectations and standards. Because I feel in my experience that some coaches today have lowered those expectations and standards in order to not afraid, but just not sure of how their players are going to, or even people they lead are going to accept the leadership that they're going to give. So you have to, like I said, just adjust your methods, but don't change your expectations or standards.
That's good.
So in that fact, that's the part I see. That's the part I still see needs to be with old school is can still fit in today's society as far as a leader. It's just keeping the same high standards and expectations. But you need to communicate that more. Make sure you verbalize where you meet the people that you are leading. Don't have them meet you. You go meet them where they're at.
That's good. That's good. That's a good nugget right there. That's what we call a gem. That's a co-op quotable. Jaye, let's go to you next. Old school coaching and emotional intelligence. How do they blend? Do they blend in today's game?
I definitely think they do blend. I also am the youngest one in the room, and I've only been coaching for, this is 6 years, year 2 as a head coach. So I'm still learning. My evolution is still, taking place. But I do think, just from growing up around the game, one, it has changed. And 2, the old school principles are still being applied by me. I think, all the coaches that I've had in the past were old school and did hold me to a standard and did set an expectation to reach greatness. You might not be great every single day, but all it takes is 1%. If you're 1% better than you were yesterday, then I think, like you said, those old school coaches can appreciate the work that you put in. You're showing up when you don't feel good. You're showing up when it hurts. You're showing up early. You're staying late. And I think those principles go hand in hand with today's game. I think a lot of these kids want the instant gratification. And so through sports, you don't get instant gratification. It's something that you have to work at. It's something that you have to put time in. And I think that, being coached by old school coaches allows me to continue on. And I'm going to call it a legacy because, we want to see, the legacy of basketball continue to evolve. But I do believe that, like Coach Jacinto said, you got to meet your kids where they are and then show them how to rise to your standard. Because if you just expect them to know the standard and know the way, you're ultimately leading them into a ditch because they don't know. And so, we got to lead by example and we got to practice what we preach.
The standard is the standard.
The standard is the standard.
The standard is the standard. Okay, Chip, let's go to you next. And then Kevin, you'll follow up immediately after Chip.
Well, man, there's so many things underneath that, and they've given so many great things. But I think that there is a time and a place for everything. I think the old school way is still needed, right? There's a time and a place for it, and we have to determine that. But then the caveat of that, to me, I think the word that comes up for me is discipline, right? And so for me, it's a 3D principle. I believe that discipline determines destination, right? So if you can allow yourself to be disciplined, right? Self-disciplined, accept, coaching, be disciplined, right? If you can allow yourself to do those things, then great things are going to happen for you, and you will achieve and go far beyond what you think you can achieve because you allow yourself to be disciplined. And so we have to have a healthy dose of love and accountability. I'm gonna go old school scenario here. My mom used to tell me, "Boy, I whoop you because I love you." That don't add up. Like, it don't feel like you love me at all. Right. Like, I don't, that makes no sense. Right. But
until it does.
until it does. And I'm so glad that I had discipline in my life because it allowed me to be the person that I am now, right? And even like, you know, how Jaye said, it's a legacy. So same deal with my son. You know, my son, like he's upper elementary school. Yeah, Daddy, you can tell the kids that ain't been disciplined. Right? You're right. You know, like, you know, he in elementary, boy, they need a whooping. You know, that boy need a whooping. But the thing is, man, you just, and I love too how you said, you know, like you have to teach it, right? And that was one thing I always told my coaches, man, like don't assume that they know it. Now, if they know it, that's a bonus, right? But if we're expecting something of them, man, make sure that we are teaching it, right? Let them know the expectations, teach them how to do it, let them know what's expected. Now, if they choose to do something different, now I got to get close to you. Now we gotta, you know, now we got to do something different. But you know, don't assume that they know it. Let's teach it to them and give them the tools that they need to allow them to be successful in their life.
That's good. And then Kevin, wrap us up. Again, we're talking about old school coaching and emotional intelligence. How do they mesh in today's game? Ready? Go.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting that we've talked about faith a lot in here, right? Our biblical values, old school values. So yeah, we need some old school values in there for sure. I'll give you an example. It's kind of one's a real life and one's a make believe, so to speak. But Ted Lasso swept the nation, right? As a coaching show and everything like that. Well, who did Ted Lasso have on his wall but John Wooden's the pyramid principles, right? So yeah, that old dog still hunts. So it's important to tie those things in. It's all about relationships. It's about discipline. It's about being a good teammate. It's about serving others. It's about old school values that still provide results today.
Listen, I love good old sayings. Like, you know, that old dog still hunts.
Absolutely.
A full dog won't hunt. You know, I interviewed a coaching family, Branch, Rambo, and Shed out of North Crowley. Actually, Coach Rambo is the head girls basketball coach at Randall High School down in Lamar Consolidated. And I want to say the youngest of the trio used the word hoss. She was talking about it. So she was like, man, she was just a hoss. I was like, man, I haven't heard that in 25 years, you know? So it's like, if you listen, that's old school. That's old school. All right, y'all. Man, this has been 1000% outstanding. We are in the Coaches Co-op with a few of the authors of The Path for Coaches, Volume 2, Emotional Intelligence. Let me just give y'all a little bit of background real quick before we go to and one. All right, so let me just let y'all know. Unlock the power of emotional intelligence in leadership. When you purchase this book, because you are going to purchase this book, let me be clear about that. Okay, you're going to discover the secret to effective leadership and coaching with The Path for Coaches, Volume 2, Emotional Intelligence. This insightful guide explores the crucial role of emotional intelligence in leadership. All right, y'all, this brings us to the very last thing in this episode. I like to call this and one. So I'm going to give each of you the opportunity to share one final message before we get out here. So we'll go Jaye, Kevin, Chip, and then Coach Jacinto. You'll wrap us up before we get out of here. So, Coach Floyd, what do you have for and one?
In order to grow yourself, you must serve others.
Perfect. Nice, concise, straight to the point. Kevin, it's your at bat.
All right. So I'm going to just add a John Gordon principle for you. E plus P equals O. And that's event plus perspective equals outcome. And Coach Jacinto was talking about it earlier. the way you look at things, the way you perceive things matters. And are you looking at it from your own thing? Are you looking at it from your teammates? Are you looking at it from someone you're serving? Whose perspective are you looking at? That made a huge change for me a few years back, and that's one of my favorites.
Good stuff. All right, Chip, your turn.
3 simple words: go get it. Man, go get this volume 2 book. You need it. And it reminds me of a conversation that you and I had on an interview, Coach Prejean. You talked about one of your family members. I can't remember if it was your father or whatever, but had the book. And you said that he was reading through the book. He's like, man, this thing just for coaches. This for everybody, you know? And so, like, yes, it says the path for coaches on there. But if you are a leader, if you're looking to grow, this book is for everyone. So go get it.
Y'all heard the man. Go get it. Coach Jacinto, I need you to come on.
I'm just going to sum up. Okay, I'm just going to sum up kind of what everybody said, but I'm going to put it in. I know everybody that's come across this in their career is having a growth mindset. And everybody really talked about that in summation just now, but just didn't say that word. They put it in different things. And I think that's, but being that all of us have gotten to where we got by having a growth mindset and being open to evolving, reinventing themselves and learning new things to be more effective in their career and in their personal life.
That's good stuff. I want to say this. I thought about this listening to you just now, Coach Jacinto. When I was a kid, I did not like the way red beans and rice looked. Okay. So, you know, growing up in South Louisiana, red beans and rice once a week in the school cafeteria. I did not like them because I just didn't like the way they looked. I was an adult before I ate red beans and rice. And when I tell you red beans and rice is in my all-time top 5. Okay. So we have touched on some spiritual principles here, and Coach Jacinto was touching on the growth mindset. So coaches, I want to encourage you, get book 1 about mentoring, get book 2, because these books are about your growth mindset. You don't actually know what growth mindset is until you get into it and you start being insatiable about your growth. Now I'm going to tie it all up. The Bible says, taste and see. Taste and see. So you need to get book 1 on mentoring. You need to get book 2 on emotional intelligence. You need to be, to quote a good friend of mine, Kyle Adams, you need to be insatiable about your growth. Don't just talk about it, be about it. Because once you taste it and you see it, you have a new revelation about your growth. Listen, y'all, I'm about to get us out of here, but y'all do me a favor. Once the outro plays, y'all still hang back with me for a second so I can just give y'all some final information once we end today. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having us.
All right. Listen, thank you, everybody, for joining us here in the Coaches Co-op. Big thanks to today's guests, Chip Baker, Armando Jacinto, Jaye, Floyd, and Kevin Demers. If you are walking away with new insight or new energy for yourself, for your team, for your program, for your family, then we did our job. If you enjoyed this conversation, please hit that like button. Follow, subscribe to our channel for more insights from top athletic professionals like the people you heard from today. Leave us a 5-star review. If you are listening on iTunes, your ratings and reviews help other people find us here in the Coaches Co-op. Share the show with someone who needs to hear this wisdom. Help us grow the Coaches Co-op community where coaches do what most people can't. And remember, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. We'll catch y'all next time in the Coaches Co-op. My name is Michael Prejean, also known as Coach P. For Chip Baker, Armando Jacinto, Jaye, Floyd, and Kevin Demers, we'll see you next time in the Coaches Co-op.